All right. Hello. Welcome to Live from the Field Tactical Demo Tips from Top SEs. Thank you all so much for joining today. We're going to get started in just a minute or two, but if folks wouldn't mind warming up the chat by sharing where they're calling in from today, that'd be a great place to start. Nice. Meredith's coming in from New York. We got some Canadians in the room with Chris from Montreal, and good New York contingent. Yeah. DC, New York, right in your neck of the woods.
Looks like ENC is a thing now. Eastern North Carolina.
That's the first time I'm hearing of it. So let's make it a thing.
It's a thing.
I love it. Got some international presence here with Shyam calling from India. Thank you for joining. Awesome. Should be a good crew today.
That's great.
Awesome. Well, as folks continue to trickle in, feel free to share exactly where you're calling in from in the chat. And we do have some more Chicagoans, which is great. It's where I call home, where Meredith calls home. Great to see that Tony's hopping in here today. But yeah, thank you all so much for joining. I'll go ahead and share some initial context on kind of the why behind this webinar, then we'll go ahead and jump right in. So when we are thinking about initial areas, for today's conversation, I always just thought back to our experience SSEs, where back in the old days when everyone was in person, I learned so much when I was side by side with another SE and learning how they demo. And it was so cool to see how they prep. What did they do a few hours before a big demo? Or when they did demo, how did you structure it to be most effective? Or when someone asked for a POC, as what seemed to be the case all the time, how did you frame that discussion? How did you push back on it? So there are so many learnings that happen in just watching top SEs perform. And what we'll try to do today is go behind the scenes and break down how some top SEs that we have here on the panel today, how they prep, what they've learned in their day-to-day, how they handle tricky scenarios, objections, and tips and tricks that they use. So our intent today is that you walk away with today's session with some tactical learnings that you can start using as soon as this afternoon. And we have not forgotten AI, do not worry. So we'll also cover some of the ways that folks are using AI to prep and help with demos. And I think there's some pretty cool workflows that we can go through there too. So as mentioned, this will be that real kind of tactical deep dive today. And as far as the structure, we'll plan to run for 45 minutes. And then if you do have questions, which we really encourage, feel free to put those in the Q&A section here in SQL. And we'll address those and go through those at the end of today's session as well. And just a quick note on the follow-up and what that looks like. So all people that attend today will receive a follow-up email with slides, as well as the recording. And we at Navattic would be remiss to not share a demo as well. So you'll also receive a link to an interactive demo. We recently launched our demo automation suite at Navattic. So if you actually go through and click through the demo and the follow-up, we'll also send you a high-quality gift through our partner Loop and Tie. And there's a lot of high-quality gifts in there. So noise-canceling headphones, El Camino golf bag, Nest pour-over kit. So some really good things in there. So just be on the lookout for that follow-up email as well.
Are we eligible for those?
I think we can make that work.
Loop and Tie is great.
Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah, but to kick things off, we'd love to introduce the fantastic panel that we have here today. So I'll give a quick intro myself. I'm Neil, one of the co-founders here of Navattic. And prior to Navattic was a sales engineer at Oracle, which is where one of my co-founders, Randy, and I met. So lived the SE life in the early days and excited to work with the folks here we have today. But to kick things off, we can maybe go left to right in this grid. And Matthew, we'll turn it over to you for a quick intro on yourself.
Hey, everyone. I'm Matthew Young-James. I'm a senior pre-sales consultant at WISE, International Money Movements. I've done demos for 5, maybe 6 years now in a couple of different contexts. So I'll be sharing some of what I've learned from doing online demos in person, and those one-off demos that you'll have just 2 minutes with someone at a conference to speak on. Excited to be here. Over to you, Michael.
All right, thanks, Matthew, and thank you for having me, Neil. Really excited to be chatting with this group. Looking forward to seeing what comes in the Q&A and chat as well from our audience. I'm Michael Ammaturo, Head of Solutions Engineering at Experience.com. And my career, I just want to give a little bit of the journey from how I got into the SE space, because I know that a lot of people have come at it from different angles. I came at it from a sales operations position in 2008, long time ago. The collapse had just happened, the financial collapse had just happened, and I somehow got a job doing sales ops, setting up Salesforce implementations. And from that, just worked my way into forward-facing positions as a BDR at a company where then I did well as a BDR. We needed an SE, and so I applied for that position and was tapped to do it. So that started the career as an SE just since 2015, and then moved my way at Experience.com to be the head of a solutions engineering team. So I'll certainly be sharing I always emphasize the sales part of sales engineering, although now it's solutions engineering. Same emphasis, though, is we have to close deals and make things happen. So thank you.
All right. Hey, everybody. Mark Rida. I'm the Senior Director of Solution Engineering at a cybersecurity firm called Saviynt. My career, I mean, Jesus, it was 20 years in the security space. So I became an SE in 2012. So 15 years on as being an SE and running like SE teams. But in that time, what that really means is a lot of scar tissue, a lot of post-traumatic stress, and probably some therapy that goes along with getting learning the licks of how to be an SE and how to really run opportunities from every different type of product that you can imagine, everything from security. And then I did take a slight detour into clean tech energy, and then came back to security after I found out it wasn't as glorious as I once thought it would be. But yeah, a lot of different experience today, and I'm happy to work with the team that's here.
Awesome. Thank you all. Yeah, so with that, it'd be great to just jump right in. And Michael, we'll turn it over to you if you would mind covering how you prep, tools, tips, and tricks that you use, lesson learned, and how you adapt.
Yeah. I mean, I like that you broke it out into these 4 areas, because that really that covers quite a bit. And the prep is, I mean, I always feel like, and I think everybody harps on this, how important preparation is going into a call, and whether you're preparing for a call that's happening tomorrow or next week, or if you're, as Matthew said, in a live scenario, you should have some background on who you're talking to and some understanding. So that's the discovery portion of that. Now, you're usually working with an account executive, although I know many SEs who don't work with account executives. And so you have to kind of do the discovery on your own. But I mean, the very basics of that that I've seen people miss are just looking at LinkedIn, looking at press releases, and now using AI to just ask about what's happening at the company, what news items should I be aware of, so that you have some context about who you're talking to, both at the company level and then at the individual level. And that discovery, such as, I talk about press releases. I mean, you should know if, for example, you're going into a call and there's a merger that's been announced. That's happened to me where it was good that we knew that this merger was coming. It also was an indicator that the deal was going to take longer than we would normally anticipate. But it's important to know that sort of thing. Syncing with your account executive early is to me is really important when you have an AE, because obviously you're tag teaming that call, and they also will have done usually discovery without you. So it's even more important to get an understanding of the key people on that call, the objectives, setting an objective for that meeting that you're having. So I always say, I put it in the bullet below, what are the 2 or 3 key points that we want to make, and what does success look like for that given call? And that that feeds back into this talk track planning, because once you know your goals and your key points, then you can work backward and say, well, here's what we're going to cover in the demo or in the live demo, and here's what we're going to leave out, which is equally important when you do talk track planning.
You mean I shouldn't just show every single feature that I've got in the platform?
Right. What are they? The old phrase, show up and throw up. I mean, it's a horrible phrase, but I've heard it before and I get it. You just don't do it. Robert asks, syncing with an active listener or just doing a write-up. I mean, that's a good point. I usually do, and with the AEs that I've had success with, it's been easy to get FaceTime with. But of course, they should also have some written notes, and I always usually give them some framework if they don't have one already for what I'm looking for, which are the items that I indicated. There are key personas, the objectives, what journey you want to take them on, what the key pain points are. And I know that Mark on his slide, I think, is going to cover some of that as well. So there's a lot of detail into what exactly you want to get from your AE. And yes, true, much easier with AI, but I'll put this in the how to adapt, or maybe in the lessons learned. I put take good notes, because even with AI, for me anyway, putting the notes, either typing it out on a Google Doc or writing it out on I have a remarkable paper tablet. So I just feel like taking some ancillary notes is beneficial, because the AI is not always going to emphasize the things that are important to me that I wanted to hone in on. Do you think has anybody else had that experience with AI? I know it's a topic.
100%. I mean, it can lead you astray if you're not careful too. So you have to take everything with salt. So one of the things that we've started to coach our SEs here with doing is, to your point, you should never be in the position of show up and throw up, but every now and again it will happen. A partner is holding you back from having a connection with that customer to do a real discovery. They're saying, hey, I've told you everything. You might not have that ability. So what do? I like to give people homework. So here's a form. Hey guys, we did our research. This is where we think we're going to go. Can you pick your top priorities here and all your stakeholders? And that way we'll focus on that. And we do that two days in advance, and we'll get the results, and then we'll confirm it on that beginning call. And that's how you're able to then take what you've learned maybe with AI, put it into some summary, get them to participate. And now you can actually start having a meaningful dialogue, even without going through, let's call it the correct process of true discovery.
Let's not. I want to emphasize what Mark just said about confirming it on the call. So opening a call by confirming what you're going to cover and what you think is important to the people on that call, actually, for me, has revealed where maybe people on the call are misaligned. Now, I try to group the call where you have people with the same interests. So maybe if I'm going to talk to the marketing team, we'll only talk to the marketing team. Ideally, then we would bring on the tech team in a different call. Maybe do a compliance call. We're in a regulated industry, so do a compliance call separately. So ideally, you have those separated. But if you don't, it's great to use that confirmation method to just see what matters to each person, and just make sure that at least you touch on each one of those points when you have a mixed group.
Yeah, I would add, like, if you ever read Great Demo, Peter Cohen goes and describes that chain of pain. And you develop that for each one of your stakeholders, and you might not get everything, but you might get a little bit in that beginning area just by doing what Michael said.
I mean, preparation is also knowing your product. Experience.com is a pretty straightforward product for customer experience management and online reputation management. So it's not very technically complicated, I would say, but it is nuanced for our customers who need to be somewhat educated on the abilities that we have to help them reply to reviews that are just as important as getting the reviews themselves, or why it's important to connect your social media accounts so that we can amplify the 5-star reviews to their social media. Those are knowing your product and knowing why your product matters to your audience is definitely part of the preparation. And I think setting aside time to, like, every time a product release comes out, or setting aside time to refine with your team, with your other SEs, your understanding of the product is obviously going to help with that prep. And that makes it easier just to transition over into the idea of how to adapt. Because the better you know your product, obviously, the easier it will be to reflect and ask somebody. So, ask somebody, well, if they think that it's important to talk about why Google business profiles are important, then at least you can hone in and focus on how you support that, as opposed to being lost in the dark.
Awesome.
What do you think, Matthew?
Yeah, 100%.
There, yeah.
I think it's the bare minimum to have done a Google search on the people you're speaking with. It's now, I think, the bare minimum to also have put the company name into an AI. What that's not going to get you is those specifics of the stakeholders that are right in front of you, because they will have something that they're looking to get out of the meeting. They'll have some reason that they want to speak with you. So any hints that they give ahead of time or during the meeting, those are the key things that you want to be writing down on your piece of paper or typing into your Slack DM to yourself.
Have you guys, in terms of, I mean, that's a great point. And yes, just get it down and just understand your audience. I think I put the video on ideally because obviously Consensus and other companies have shown that when you're on video, the close rates are higher, and that's obviously because you want to have as much of a connection and more bandwidth as possible on every call. I mean, I think I've even been on calls where only myself and the account executive were on video, and it was very uncomfortable for the first 15 minutes because we were the only ones on. But then as our customers or prospects got more engaged, they actually turned on their video. So don't think that they won't come online. Give them the opportunity just by being there on video. I just think it's an important way, especially in our virtual world, to do it.
100%.
Totally.
Yeah, people buy from people. So you want to have a presence, you want to make a connection. Talk with your hands, get enthusiastic. You will see people turn on their cameras. One thing I found that's really interesting, because you just brought up the post-COVID world, and Neil earlier today said, we used to be able to sit, right? We used to be able to sit next to another SE. You used to be able to sit in the room, right? Yeah. Get a whiteboard up, right? Those are like the old school SE days. You're doing everything on site. That doesn't happen like it used to. It's actually hard to do. And now, even when you get to pull it off, guess what? There's still people, even if they're in the meeting room, they're still on Zoom. They're still on some other technology. So it's still just as important to have that presentation element come across, because at the end of the day, you need to be able to make a connection, because people will buy from people, and it's all about trust. And trust, in my opinion, is lost in buckets and gained in drips. So everything you can do to increase it is helpful.
I mean, talking about the trust issue, that's in the post-COVID world where so much of our work is virtual. And I do, for the larger deals, I encourage us to get in front of to actually visit our customers somewhere in the early days, and then somewhere toward the end of the contract, if not signing of the contract. But in the real world, when you're actually face to face, I mean, it is a different way to read the room and set yourself up in a way that I would say just knowing how it's a different way of having a sense of presence. And so when you're reading the room in the real world, I mean, it's just a matter of positioning yourself physically in a place where you can do that. And don't hide behind the screen. I've seen that. I've seen other people do that, where they get locked into the screen because they're still demoing, but they're showing onto a projector. And then they get lost in the screen. Don't do that, especially in a live environment.
Totally.
How many people are still doing live environments? Just to curious in the chat if people want to put that.
Like live in person, like live environment.
In person.
Yeah, I'd actually be curious as well.
Yeah. And along those lines, for those virtual environments, that could be a good segue to the tools, tips, and tricks on like watching replays and improving. Would you mind covering some of those areas, Michael?
I was just answering Robert. So say that again, Neil. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, I think that could be a good segue. So if you are in that virtual environment and you do want to improve, what are the tools, tips, and tricks that you use repeatedly? And I noticed the top one was just watching the replay to self-improve.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's something that, I mean, I still do that inconsistently, admittedly, because it's time consuming to do it. But every time I do it, I find something else where I can improve. And I just think setting aside time, what I've tried to do now is set aside a specific time where I'm only going to watch just replays maybe 1 hour a week or 45 minutes a week just to check on that. And that's been a big help for me. But also, I mean, there are some basics like your stage presence. And I think having a little bit of engagement is important. I try to keep my hand gestures in the screen. Now, I'm half Italian, so maybe that's just part of my style. But I mean, having some, instead of just having a static view, I try to be dynamic on camera. And also, I always position my windows in such a way that I'm, as much as possible, looking directly at the camera. I've seen so many people, maybe they're looking off or to the side because they're reading something, or they're looking at something else while they're communicating, and I just do my best to keep my eyes at the camera, because that's what our audience is looking at. They're going to look for that eye contact, even if in a virtual environment. Robert's texting. Yeah, some people. I hope you're not texting on a demo, but I hear you.
Amazing.
Sometimes they are, and it's usually obvious that they're doing that.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other takeaways on your end, Michael?
I definitely want to keep moving on, but I do want to focus a couple on the lessons learned, because I mentioned, we talked about the notes, and it's also really, I got this lesson a long time ago for my own benefit, where you're not paid by the word, is what somebody told me. And you're right. Sometimes less is more, and very often less is more. So don't think that you have to fill the air. In fact, it's good to give them space, your prospect space to speak and think and pause. But the other lesson that I think is really important is don't lose alone, because I've worked with AEs who have not lasted very long because they weren't bringing other internal stakeholders into the call, or they were not multi-threading into the customer. Same situation. So if you're, at least in the enterprise space, I've only sold enterprise software, even to small businesses, also large businesses, but it's really important to multi-thread both at the customer level and internally, so you bring other people from your company into the call.
Totally. Yeah, the best AEs seem to do that really well. Know the internal resources and use them exceptionally well. So yeah, really appreciate all those takeaways, Michael. So with that, in the interest of time, we'll transition to you, Matthew, if you would mind sharing how you prep, how you adapt, tools, tips, and tricks that you use.
Amazing. I know that we're hearing a lot of things today, so I've tried to boil this down into 4 easy takeaways, some images that we can all think about. So how to prep, and I think we have basically established that. Know your target. Know what you're doing when you walk into a room. Know why you are there. This is kind of 2 things that I think about when I'm prepping for a demo. There's this quote that's attributed to Maya Angelou. People won't remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. And I think that's true to an extent. You do, especially in the world of payments, need to make sure your words are correct. But in the world of a customer, this 1-hour demo that you have with them is just a tiny sliver of their day job. They're not going to remember all of the details, but they will take away those big things that you're looking to establish. So use the discovery that we've got from Michael's discussions. Use your AI overview. Know what it is that they are looking for, and know what are those big themes that you want to establish in this meeting. That's knowing your target. This next one, I was trying to figure out what a good way to represent this is. This is 2 parachutes, controlling what you can, how to adapt. And I think the idea is it's best if you cannot adapt, but it's going to happen. When you need to call on those extra resources, it's best if you can have something prepared ahead of time. So a good example of this, we went on site last week, and at large enterprise companies, security is very important. Mark probably knows all about that. And
sometimes less important than you might think it actually is.
Oh boy.
So this is one area where I actually appreciate it when security has thought of us as vendors coming in. And sometimes you can't get access to the Wi-Fi. And if all you have is a Google slide presentation, that can be an issue. So controlling what you can means having that backup as much as possible. have a PDF downloaded as well as your slide deck. If you're doing a live demo in production, is there a video you can have just in case production has some sort of hiccup? And this kind of applies to a couple of other things. No matter what you're doing, if there are ways that you think your customer might interpret something, have your talking points ready and be able to adapt on the fly. Now, my tip for everyone, I'll need your help on this. So Mark, Michael, and Neil, do you know what this picture is?
It looks like Men in Black, don't forget.
That's exactly right. Now, bonus points. Do you know what that pen is? Do you know what it's called officially in the world of Men in Black?
The neuralizer?
It is.
Oh, good man.
Wow.
Mark gets points. Mark has not had the neuralizer used on him recently. So the neuralizer. And Mark, what does it do if anyone hasn't seen Men in Black?
It wipes their memory for the last X amount of time, so they don't remember what just happened.
Exactly. So when the neuralizer is used on you, you will forget some period of time. And my tip for you is to do that, is to go and neuralize yourself for the last set of demos that you did. The point being, it can be very easy to get into a routine and a rhythm. And there are really good things about that. You have your really strong talking points. But if you can't get out of that, you're going to end up not putting yourself in. So use the neuralizer and try something new. So a couple of things that we've done here. We neuralized ourselves at my last company, and we said, we've been doing this demo the same way for 4 years. What if we did something new? We are here at Money 2020. We've got a room, we've got a television, and we've got some iPads. What can we do? We came up with this brand new way of showing off our API, which was built right into the iPad. And we got this amazing moment where you can pull it up on the iPad, and then we would slide it over across the table to the person sitting there who we're speaking with. And then suddenly they get to do it themselves. And that hit on a lot of different things because suddenly the technology becomes tactile. The people we're speaking with are literally touching what's going on. And this was all because we thought to ourselves, let's try something brand new. And Mark, I think you had an idea there too.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love the innovativeness because I've seen it countless times where you get really, like SDs can get really good at presenting. They'll have a flow. They'll know exactly where they're going to go. They'll know how to adapt to every question, but it's going to follow this, right? But you have to, you can get yourself into too much of a rhythm where, you know, to Michael's point earlier, you're speaking too much. You're not asking you're not asking questions. You're not putting the uncomfortable pause in place. So by what you just suggested, making it more tactile is very similar to something that we've done, and that's a co-sell motion with the customer, co-solutioning motion, where we might do a demo right out of the gate. And you know, in our case, it's all in cybersecurity. It's all about integration and connectivity. And oh, can I do this? And I'm a special snowflake. So we just take that right off the table. Hey, the next meeting, you know, why don't I'm going to actually be your driver's ed coach, and you're going to go do this yourself. And people are like, what? And to your point, Matt, it's tactile. You're taking the pain out of doing something. You're having them. You're delivering an experience, and you're making it look easier, and how it's going to hopefully help their life.
I think there's one other adaptation is staying up to date with the impact that your product is having on your customer base. When we first launched a new product a year and a half ago, we didn't have any proof points except what we had done in the past, but it wasn't directly related to existing product, to the new product that was just released. So we had mock-ups and theoreticals about what it could do and what it would do. But as soon as we had impact statements from our customers and we help our customers get found online. So the proof is right in Google and now AI search. So as soon as we had those to be able to show, we went ahead and incorporated those into the demo, and that changed the flow and changed the impact of the story a lot more, because obviously with real world impact, you're going to have more resonance with the prospects that you're talking to. So I love the idea of like continually adapting your talk track and your presentation.
Michael, that leads us really well into the last point, because it's very easy for me to sit here, flash a nice picture of a pen that has a bright light in it and say, okay, now go and reinvent everything you've been doing for 4 years. when I was in that position about 18 months ago, trying to bring a fresh approach, it was very challenging. And I did not know what to do. But here's the thing that pushed us all forward. And it's the last lesson that I've got. It's use your team. Just like a Formula One driver is not out there by himself. Yes, he's the only one in the car, but he's got his race engineer in his ears speaking to him. He's got the pit crew. You need to rely on your team. Someone out there is going to have an idea, even at the smallest startups, right? Even if your team is 10 people, there's someone in there who has not seen your presentation, who has not been completely familiar with what you're taking to a customer. And there's going to be an idea in there that you can use somewhere. So, and how this ended up for me was we took this around to our design team. They had been building out some new prototypes in Figma. And we said, okay, what if we teamed up? And that's what we ended up putting on the iPads. We developed a Figma together. That's what we ended up taking to the conference and helped us really make a big impact with a couple of key executive meetings. And Michael, that's exactly what you're saying, right? It's maybe that thing is customer impact. Maybe that thing is your product marketing team. Maybe it's the roadmap. What's some new way that you can bring all this cool stuff your company is doing and make it relevant to the meeting so that you can go back to where we started and hit your target?
Totally. Yeah. And along those lines, I think that what you highlighted there, Matthew, is so critical of like identifying what is the current flow. And then I think just like the identification of like, this is how I'm doing it today is such a great impetus to change so that you can use your team and really rethink things. But yeah, thanks for that slide. That was incredible to go through. Mark, we'll turn it over to you to hear how you prep, how you adapt.
Yeah. So, I don't get to present nearly as much as I used to and would like to, quite frankly. But every now and again, I get to jump in and have fun. But I think it always starts with me. And again, I'm enterprise sales, right? So and in our market, a lot of different stakeholder teams across usually large enterprise. So everybody from HR to security operations, identity management to application owners. It's just runs the gamut. So you're typically pulling all these people together, or your champion might be. So the idea is always to, all right, what's the big strategic initiative that's occurring in the business that we can start to attach our program to, right? What are they doing today? What do they want? But then also, what's the impact of what they're doing today? What's the outcome they're looking for, and how are they going to measure that outcome? All those areas start to really define our required capabilities, right? And that is what's going to really drive. So kind of going back to the beginning part of our conversation, we were talking about level setting on the call, right? Opening up, what do you know versus, hey, did we get this right? Just asking that question. I put this up and say, hey, this is what we understand is happening today, and we understand where you're going tomorrow. Did we miss anything? Right.
Just to jump in for a moment to emphasize the measurement aspect, because I just put it in the chat because we talk about the demo and winning the demo and even winning the technical win, but we're also, as SEs, we're preparing our company, our AEs and ourselves for that executive level presentation and proposal. And you have to remember, of course, every decision now is going through the C-suite, most likely. And if not just the CEO, at least for signature, it could be signed off by the CFO. So how do you prepare your champion who's going to bring that to the CFO with the right talking points that a CFO, for example, is going to care about it? And measurement is usually that way into anyone at the C-suite.
100%. If it's whether it be an ROI measurement or whether it be a percent gained for like operational, however we want to measure an outcome, a positive business outcome is so key, because then you can start to relate the capabilities that you're presenting back to those 2 points and how it's going to help achieve that greater strategic initiative. So we're going to always attach our opportunity to a big idea, right? Because it might not always be clear. There's I'll give you a story. So I'm working with a very large insurance company, and they want to 10x their revenue over the next couple of years. They're going to go through a big cloud migration, big AI innovation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the security side is looking at that going, oh my God, our world is going to change. So how do I get the CISO and the CIO to say, yes, your product's actually going to help me enable our business to hit that big idea, and these are the outcomes that we want to drive towards, and that's all backed up by capabilities that we're going to present to them that will solve very tactical problems, but in some provide a positive business outcome. So that's really one of my biggest things. That's is in the preparation. All the things that everybody else said too, so key, right? This is kind of maybe stepping back a little bit and mapping it, but it's really knowing those things. This also helps when you're in the moment. You can jump back to it at any time. Say, but you have explained to me that right now your impact is this and your desire is to do this. So this is what would do. You can use this to overcome any objection, because it does fill out that map. And I think that level of prep is what we're striving for. There's always going to be gaps, and there's always going to change, and that's okay. But trying to get a sense of it kind of early is really been helpful for my team, and then how it actually transitions through the rest of that opportunity cycle. I'll pause there and Mike, Matt, jump in.
Yeah, I actually think there's to bring up the measurement. Actually, Meredith in the Q&A, I just noticed this brought up two questions there. One of which is about universal metrics for actually understanding whether your demo itself, the presentation itself, was successful. So, is it a metric like the prospect asks more than one question? I think that's a great question in terms of measurement of ourselves. To me, I like to see how engaged they were by how much they spoke, because I'm always creating opportunities for, and I think other research, again, I think maybe it was a Navattic report, but talked about, or no, it was a Gong.io report, talked about the percentage of time that your customer, your prospect should be communicating with you on a given demo. Now, discoveries are different than demos, are different than design sessions, of course, but I'm looking personally. I generally look for a 50-50 split or a little bit more, where I'm trying to get them out. It doesn't always work out that way, but I like to see that they're engaged, they're talking, they're sharing thoughts and insights, because that means that I've built enough trust that they've been willing to share that with me.
Further to that, I think not only getting them speaking, I have this personal KPI, and I think it's totally anecdotal. There might be some research on it, so if anyone runs across it, please send it over. I aim to get the people in the meeting speaking as soon as possible, because if you start by opening the first 10 minutes and you don't allow any space for anyone, it starts to become more of a listening exercise. And maybe there's space for that. Most of the time, I think we want our customers to be very engaged. So opening up with some kind of question or something that is going to elevate your champion, maybe say something like, okay, our champion, Miss X, you have told us so far that this is what we're doing, and we brought in the rest of the people in the room today in order to help us push this initiative forward. How would you position that? Something like that, or a way to get them on the same page from their perspective, right? Because chances are you've got a good understanding of where they're coming from, but there's going to be that extra nuance that they can add in. And the sooner you get that, the sooner you can adapt on the fly and maybe hit that point again when you do actually get to the demo.
Yeah, I'll add to that too. In the beginning of every virtual meeting, you've always got water cooler talk, but nobody's sitting there silent typically. Try to get some questions in, try to get everybody engaged, try to get people talking even on the banal whatever. Because they'll, at least at a bare minimum, somebody will see their peer being open and they'll just start talking too. So yeah, just little things like that go a long way. And it still goes back to, people buy from people. Nobody wants to buy from a robot. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I don't know. I have a brother who would rather not. He prefers the self checkout at the stores. And I think he's nuts, but I get it. Sometimes it makes sense. No, I wanted to add to what Mark said about the enterprise buying motion. At least again, B2B, which is what I'm selling to. But people are in the business world buying like consumers now, meaning that they're doing a lot of research and even talking to existing customers before they even talk to me as a salesperson or as an account executive or as an SE. So before they even get to our sales team, they've already done quite a bit of research on the company and on the product. So there's some understanding, which includes maybe misunderstandings, either that they're getting from competitors or that they're getting from their own misunderstanding of what was presented on a marketing material or a dashboard. So you have to be aware of what people are coming to the table with, and as Matthew said, getting them to talk about what they know already. Sometimes I do that as well. If people have come to the call new, just asking them, so what do you know about the platform so far? What have you heard from Joe, who explained it to you prior to this? Can you give me a little understanding as to what your thoughts are on it at this moment? And that just opens it up a little bit and gets you to understand that, again, they've done all of this. They've done a lot of talking and research before they got to you. So you need to be aware and acknowledge that.
Yeah. And again, I think I put it, or I said it earlier, and I think I had it on the slide prior. It's giving them homework, right? So if you are in that first discovery phase, right, giving them the tools to go do some additional homework so they become more prepared, or in a lot of cases might have one person that's brought the opportunity to bear, and they're the ones pulling the team together. How do you empower them with things to help their team with? And I forget exactly who I'm going to quote here, but it's what 90% of the decisions are made without you in the room. So you need to have a way of being in the room when you're not there, right? Yeah. So how can you do that?
Leave behinds, live demo links, right? Interactive demo links.
Yep.
Totally. Yeah. And it speaks to the importance of the calls, that because people have done that research before, those calls matter more than they ever have before.
Correct.
And so with that, Mark, perhaps we could cover the
Sure.
magic and sleight of hand component, just to make sure those calls that are present go well.
I'll do a couple things here. So how to adapt, and tools, tips, tricks, right? We can kind of blend together a bit. In my experience, the first thing is the stories are the best. Have stories ready to go. Customer stories, experience stories, personal stories, something that connects the cognitive with what you're displaying. And for me, I'm a practitioner in my space, so I have a treasure trove of, again, therapy sessions that I've had to put myself through in post-traumatic stress to go back and talk to somebody about and say, this is what we did. This is where it went well. This is where it didn't go well. And that's what people are really interested in hearing, actually, is where has there been a mistake, even with a current customer, right? Where was it perfect? Because software is never perfect, in my opinion. And how did you overcome it? What was the result of overcoming it? What was needed? What were the resources? How it happened? It can be a 1-minute story. It could be a 5-minute story. But then when I said magic and sleight of hand, like if you're on the fly demoing, the Zoom pause button is probably everybody's best friend. I saw Michael when we were preparing, but it's so true. Also, this kind of comes back to prep. When we coach preparation, it's yes, know your deal, know your flows, know what you're going to do and everything. But Mike Tyson, a plan is great until you get punched in the face, right? So you have to have that trust with, hopefully, you're an account executive or somebody else in the room with you to help either deflect, table for later, say, what, great, that's actually a really important question, but it's going to need its own set of time because you didn't want to get into it on that demo. So don't go down the rabbit hole, save it and put it for later. And if you can have that rapport back and forth with your AE and they can sense that, that's the best between those areas.
There's a part of experience.com that is not a feature of the software, but is a big selling point, and that wins. And that's the fact that we have search rank specialists who understand online search very well, and they help our specific customers with onboarding and adoption and understanding of the platform so that they can maximize their use of the platform.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have that team is not a feature, but it's something that I work in to most of our calls and conversations, because having that kind of one-on-one or team webinar setting is a big competitive advantage in my space. So remember that you don't have to look at just the software for the advantages. Your company has advantages too that you want to bring into the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great call up, Michael. And perhaps you could even weave that into the demo story spine that Mark was saying. Like, this is how they use this component or the service to really like enhance that.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. So let's keep moving here. I think we just have a few questions. So with that, we can cover some of the other key content that we have here around follow-up questions. And to start, perhaps over to you, Michael, if you wouldn't mind covering how you adjust when an AE completely changes the direction of the call.
So how many people on the call have had a situation where the AE has completely changed the direction of the call or the tenor of the call? I'm sure I'm not the only one. And actually, I've had this scenario, both scenarios, where one, it was a direction that I didn't want to go in, and the other direction where actually it was a good idea, and I agreed with it in real time and said, yeah, let's do that. But I think when the AE unexpectedly changes the direction of the call, for example, you know that you wanted to talk about the importance of someone's online reputation, but they bring you down the rabbit hole of focusing on customer experience surveys when that's the internal focus that they're trying to go down. Just letting them know that I always start off by saying that's a good point, because it usually is a good point, but it's not what I want to cover now, and it's not what we're trying to cover now. So we can say that's a good point, and maybe that'd be great for another conversation. But let's go back to this other point, whatever I was just speaking about, and dive a little deeper on this, because I think that's related to whatever the impact that you're trying to get at with your customer. So in our case, because that's important to our online reputation discussion.
Love that.
You know, that's one way that I do. I'm sure Mark and Matthew also have other stories around that.
Yeah. You know, we try to make sure that this doesn't happen and that we're all aligned, but there are times where, you know, and to your point, right? Sometimes it's actually a good idea, or there's been moments where an AE has gotten intelligence in like the last 2 minutes, and we haven't even had a chance to socialize it with each other yet. And you just have to have you have to be, you know, game time agile to some extent.
Yeah.
So the decision is, if you're ready for it, like, is your demo prep for it? That's like number one. Could you even do it even if you wanted to? And number two, there is the, how do I achieve what I want to achieve and achieve this? How do I link those stories? A lot of that is going to be a lot of agility that's built in to how you present. I would say it's always good to crowdsource it right out of the gate. Hey, you know, we originally planned for this. You know, I know we're going to talk about that, but let's just put it up to the team. We can cover these 3 things today, or we can cover these 2. Or we could use this as another session there, because I know that's going to be important to you. And you put it to the team, and I'll just say, hey, everybody, you know, give a thumbs up or a thumbs down in the chat live.
Yeah.
You know, that tends to work, and you get some people participating that way as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, Mark. And I think that speaks to the point earlier on how to get engagement and like getting buy-in around the topics covered it seems like an excellent way to do that.
Given the question, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Neil.
No, go ahead, Michael. Yeah.
Well, it just begs the question, though. How do you get that agility, that game time agility? And one of those ways, of course, is just real world practice and watching other SEs do it. The other is just training your AI, whichever one you're using, to do some role playing and to be the person who's going to throw you off and ask a question that's unexpected, and then just do that role play with the AI. I've had some success with it. I would love to do more of it. I don't think I do a lot of the role playing on AI than maybe I could, but the limited work that I've done with it, and I use is ChatGPT for the most part. on that type of thing, because he seems to know me. That role playing has been helpful to throw questions at me that I might not have come up with on my own.
Yeah.
Question for the team and for the audience here. Do you guys do like demo fests like internally, or like we call it immersion training, where we'll grab a small group and have people practice with each other, give them scenarios? And
Not enough. We've done it only a couple times this year, one at the sales kickoff and one virtually. And I think we should definitely do more of it. It's great that you do that.
It's paid dividends, especially for new hire, getting them right in. What we've done is we bring like our really experienced SEs, and we'll put our new hires in the same room, and we'll play Stump the Chump, we'll play Seymour, we'll play all of the different areas to do, and you end up having a lot of fun, and you actually end up, even the seasoned guys, they all come back and they go, wow, I learned so much actually like doing that. We try to do it we have a Friday morning call where it's tell us something new, show us something you learned, bring up a topic and everything, and we'll run these scenarios there. And it's really, that has actually improved my team's ability to execute tremendously just by running that.
I think that's a really good point, and also just acknowledging that what you're pointing at is a mindset that is it's important for all people, but it's particularly important for SEs, is just to have the learner's mindset. You're always learning. You're not going to be a 100% expert on any given thing, because every field that we're in is always evolving, and just keeping that learner's mindset helps keep it a little more open-minded, so that those trainings are more effective than they would otherwise be.
Yeah. I saw somebody put product hangout every Fridays for an hour. Yeah, it's been awesome. We've done that. If you guys ever done PowerPoint karaoke, it's one of the most fun exercises you can do with your team.
What is that? How do you do PowerPoint karaoke?
Oh, it's okay. It's real. We'll go off topic here if I get into this, because it's a passion. You basically give an SE 2 slides. They don't know what the slides are. They're in front of the group. Slide comes up. They have to present to whatever it is, and it'll go from one slide to the next at an interval that they don't expect. And it is.
I love it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. But to your point, Mark, that's a fantastic way to do on the fly thinking, and there's no better way to simulate those experiences than things like that. I love that concept.
If you can do it over a couple of beers, it's even better.
Love it. Well, with that, I know earlier, Mike, you were chatting about ChatGPT and AI usage. I think this could be a good segue into how you all are using AI to amplify your either live demos, or your prep or follow-up. What tools, tips, and tricks are you using? And maybe to kick it off, Matthew, we'll kick it over to you.
Michael, I need to go and try that myself. Try asking ChatGPT what it thinks of my demos. We've definitely dived into all of the prep you can do, understanding your discovery. I think that is definitely something everyone needs to do.
Yep.
Then the second level, which I think I am definitely still playing around with, is what content can you generate out of ChatGPT or something similar? Yes, great demo data is probably the first way to go. If you're showing off non-production, get a really compelling set of data that's going to tell the right story for the right customer. And then try experimenting with what you can do, bringing your platform to life, whether that is spinning up a demo app that is completely customized to a customer. That's probably the cutting edge that I've seen and experimented with.
For us, it's. I mean, I have a lot of my guys will lean on it for quickly building out an integration. They'll lean into the coding aspect. They'll go, hey, I got to get this done, and they'll, we have our own Amazon Bedrock and Amazon Q internally here at Saviynt that we've trained on everything from our documentation, our product schema, all of the pieces, our API layer. We have an MCP server, et cetera. So we're really equipped in this space. However, it was the learning curve to get there started with, hey, I need to build something. I have my own personal ChatGPT. Now it's evolved to the point where as a company, we're putting people into that to use as an accelerator, because I mean, everybody's vibe coding these days. You might as well be able to jump in and give it a try. It's unfortunately easier than it should be, but it is absolutely producing some results for us.
I think the idea, Matthew, of pulling in, because everybody's generating transcripts already, so you might as well just take those transcripts and feed it into AI to get key topics out of it, key takeaways, if it's not doing that already. But I like to do it in the AI that I'm using, so that this way I can respond to it and work with it.
I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out to Opine here. That's one of the sponsors, because their solution helps prep, intelligence, AI, all of the pieces, looks at like our calls, our Slack, and is able to get people onto the same page so fast. And that has been a huge improvement here since we've adopted it.
Love it.
Should have been in the tools section, but I forgot.
Well, this was a good headline for it. That was really good.
Awesome. And any other AI usage that you wanted to call out, Mike?
So, I mean, yeah, I think we covered a lot of that. I think the one other area as an SE leader is I actually use it to help me create training material, or at least refine some of my training material. I'll put in first drafts, but get it to give me a framework, or give me either on sales training or SE specific training, or how would you position this particular product release, just to give ideas. It feels good for brainstorming, as long as I give it the first draft. I think that's a better way to leverage it.
Amazing. Yeah. Very cool. Well, thanks for covering all that. And so I think with this last few minutes here, we are a little crammed for time, but we can cover some of the questions that have been asked as we wrap up. But to start, perhaps we could do a quick lightning round for the panel here. So from Meredith, you talked about preparation is knowing the product. How do you bridge the gap between too technical yet fully conveying its value to the prospect? Really good question. Maybe Mark, if you would mind kicking things off.
Yeah, for me, I always say it's value first, technical after, right? Because the value is why somebody's buying, right? How the sausage is made is honestly, it's not really congruent to the sale. It's congruent to somebody's tactical life. So it's interesting to know that for a particular person who might want to go into that level, and how do you help them? That's an indicator, but it's value first every time.
Yeah, and in doing that, the first thing that came to mind when I saw that question from Meredith is just knowing who you're talking to. Who is the prospect? Are they a C-suite executive that is just going to spend 15 minutes with you, or is it somebody who is kind of a day-to-day operative who's going to actually be in the platform? You still have to give them different levels of understanding and different levels of confidence in the platform. But that's what completely shifts what your talk track is going to be in terms of how technical or not. And I agree with Mark. It should be value first all day, every day.
Yep.
Totally. And Matthew, we got a new question in the chat from Eric. For small SE teams supporting colleagues across an organization, what advice do you have for maximizing impact when getting pulled in all directions, as SEs tend to do?
Wow. I think here's something I will say. I think the vast majority of SE teams are in this position. Even ones that are well-resourced, I think are always pulled on in many different directions. So probably the first thing is see who your peers are that you can speak to about this, because I'm sure you are not the only person who is experiencing it. And then probably the best advice I can give is almost to treat your time internally as if it's an external partner meeting. What are the things that you need to get accomplished? Where are the highest bits of impact? What are the KPIs that your part of the business is trying to achieve? How do you then have the highest leverage on that? And I think that helps trickle down the kinds of tasks you should be prioritizing.
Yeah, the first thing that came to mind was stay close to the money, meaning that you're here to drive revenue for the company, and you have the livelihoods of people who are not in sales and not in the revenue side of the team who are relying on you. So when you are getting pulled in directions, I think prioritizing and biasing toward revenue generation it will just immediately help you better prioritize where you should spend your time. And you need to politely decline sometimes, or put it off to somebody else that you know could do it and is maybe better suited to do it.
That's huge. That's a big why, Michael. Really well said.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you guys are running this motion at all. It's something that's being thrown around here and kind of probably operated a little more regionally. I have 2 large territories that my team supports, and my SEs get pulled in a million directions, and I have a good chunk of them too. So what the role has turned out to be is how can and my senior vice president become better operational folks in SE operations motion, which is how do I get the collateral that I know my SEs are going to be able to reuse and then deliver quickly to AEs so they can almost be a little self-service or self-sufficient. So to Michael and that's point, the real interactions with the SEs are the revenue generating ones, right? I don't need, because that AE doesn't know how to use PowerPoint, have my SE spend time building out his deck, right? Or there are so many tools that we can provide to folks at a different level that they can self-serve on that should free up time for the SEs to be more in the moment.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent point there. And like, how can you identify those opportunities to scale out those asks and scale out those enablement resources so you don't have to be on every call?
A lot of feedback has been working for us. A lot of querying and saying, hey, what are your top 3 pains as an SE? What are the things that are sucking away your time? How can we find percentages of where I can help take that away? And sometimes it's hit or miss. I'm not gonna lie. Management tries to help, and everybody goes.
Right. Yeah, as they do. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you all for that. We are at time, so we will have to wrap today, but wanted to give a big thanks to everyone for tuning in today. Thank you so much for spending the last hour with us. We really appreciate it. And big thanks to our panelists, Mark, Mike, Matthew. Thank you guys for the great insights today. Hopefully it was helpful. And as a quick reminder, we will be sending the recording slides and all this information out, as well as the giveaway link. So look out for that. But thank you again, everyone.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks, everyone.
Later.
Thanks,